Well, friends, welcome to Studio Classroom on the air. Your English will improve today. I hope you believe it. My name is Gabe, and I'm very glad you're joining us for our very useful lesson today. Are you good at managing your money? There are so many things that we learn at school, right? Math, English, Chinese, science, history. I've always thought that in high school or junior high, there should also be a class called Life 101, where you learn all of those life skills that you just don't learn in other classes. You know, like how to cook, or how to change tires on a car, and yes, how to manage your money. Well, since we didn't have those classes in school, in this lesson we will. We are continuing a lesson called Personal Finance Tips. And if you missed yesterday's program, please be sure to read that part first. We are on tip 3 today. Do you have an emergency fund, a retirement fund, a college fund for your kids? What is that word fund all about? We saw it yesterday, but we'll take a closer look at that and much more. So, let's begin.
Personal finance tips. 3. Begin investing enough money into your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses. This will give you some protection if you happen to lose your job. You will still be able to pay your bills for a few months while you search for something new. 4. Invest 15% of your income into a retirement fund. 5. Begin saving for your children's college years. According to Ramsey, whether your child is a teenager or toddler, the best time to start a college fund is now. Help your kids avoid the student loan trap that many people fall into.
And friends, let's continue with these great personal finance tips. I like that they're personal finance tips. There's something that you can do to get out of debt and to manage your money in a better way. So, Rebecca, what is number 3?
Okay, we read, begin investing enough money into your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So yesterday we learned about how you should take $1,000 and put it into an emergency fund. Well, now they're saying that you should begin investing money into this emergency fund.
Okay, so perhaps this is in case of a really big emergency, but it is a good idea regardless. Now, we see the word fund here in this sentence, and actually we're going to talk about several different kinds of funds here in this section. Often we use this word and we say this word fund, and if we say it as a plural, it sounds like the word fun, okay? You almost don't hear the D, but there is a D there. There is a fund, or maybe you have different funds for something. And this is money that you use for a particular purpose.
For example, a lot of parents like to create a college fund for their children. And so when their children are old enough to go to college, there is money that has been set aside.
That's right. So we're going to talk about a college fund very soon. But we read on here about this emergency fund. This will give you some protection if you happen to lose your job. Okay, that is something to take into consideration. It's something that nobody can predict. Nobody knows when they're going to lose their job. But that happens to a lot of people. And I've heard stories of people who are homeless who had a great job just the month before. And something happened, they lost their job. Perhaps they didn't have this kind of fund to help them out. So this is very important.
That's right. And here's another way as to how you can use this sentence pattern if something happens. For example, here at Studio Classroom, students like to come visit and they like to tour our facility. And sometimes we have this English activity, right? If Doris happens to arrive while we're playing the game or playing a game, well, we'll have to stop and allow her to share.
That's true. That's true. Our English activities, we like to introduce ourselves and play a little game. And most of the time, our boss, Doris Brome, has a chance to step in and share a few words as well. Like Rebecca said, we never know when that's going to happen. Sometimes she happens to come in right in the middle of a game.
And then we have to stop.
That's fine.
But it's fine, yes.
So we continue on here with our lesson. This will give you some protection if you happen to lose your job. You will still be able to pay your bills for a few months while you search for something new. And that's true. That's part of life. A job search, right? Have you ever had to search for a job? Tell someone about your experience in English.
Well, let's move on to the fourth tip. Invest 15% of your income into a retirement fund. Now, most of us young people don't like to think in terms of having a retirement fund because we think, oh, we're so young. I'm not going to retire. That's so far off.
Yeah, it's true. I've heard people say young people think they're so invincible, that nothing bad is going to happen to them. Well, I mean, you're going to get old one day. Most people are going to retire. So it's good to have a retirement fund. Here is number, yes?
Well, I was just going to say, and it's good to start thinking about it early, not when you're trying to retire.
Yeah, that's a great point. So here's that college fund that Rebecca was talking about. Begin saving for your children's college years. So it's not your own college fund, but your kids. According to Ramsey, whether your child is a teenager or a toddler, the best time to start a college fund is now. And this, of course, is assuming that you do plan on getting married if you're not married yet.
And, of course, it assumes that you're planning to have children, right? Help your kids avoid the student loan trap that many people fall into. And yes, the student loan trap literally is a trap because once you owe a lot of money on student loans, it's really hard to get rid of those loans.
It's true. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends that have taken at least a decade to pay off their student loans after they graduated from college. Okay, well, right now I think it's time for us to go to the Info Cloud.
Hello and welcome to Info Cloud. Today we are going to talk about finances. More to the point, personal finances.
When we talk about personal finances, we're talking about the way that individuals or families budget their money.
One of the most important things to work towards with your money is establishing a safety net. That is, savings that can help you avoid financial emergencies.
A safety net is a net that is set up to catch people when they fall so they won't get badly injured.
A financial safety net is an emergency fund that you build over time so that if anything happens, you have the money to deal with it.
Let's say that you lose your job, and it takes a while for you to get a new job. If you have built a safety net, you will have the money you need.
A safety net is more than just a savings account. It is money that you set aside just for emergencies and nothing else.
As an individual, your safety net just has to cover emergencies that affect you.
Later in life, when you have a family, your safety net has to be big enough to cover your entire family.
And that's why it's important to keep growing your safety net as you go through life.
Friends, welcome back to Studio Classroom. We're learning with a very useful lesson called Personal Finance Tips. And in our first section, we talked about 3 different kinds of funds. Do you remember what they are? Without looking at your magazine? That's right, we've got an emergency fund, a retirement fund, and a college fund that you might have for your kids. Those are great funds to prepare or to think about. And we have 2 other very useful tips coming up next.
Personal finance tips. 6. Pay off your home loan early. By making extra payments each month, you'll see a reduction in your interest and your number of payments. 7. Produce more personal wealth and actively look for ways to give generously to others. These are a few simple strategies to make your money work for you. Money can be a burden or it can be a source of freedom. It's up to you which role it will play in your life.
Now, friends, let's get right into tip number 6. Pay off your home loan early. This is for people who own a home, we would call you a homeowner. I am not a homeowner. I don't own a home. But if I did, this is a great tip. Pay it off early. Now, to pay something off or to pay off, this is to pay the full amount of something like a debt or to be in the process of paying it off.
That's right. And what other things can you pay off? Well, for example, you could say that it's important to pay off your school loans as soon as possible. It's important to pay off your credit card bills or credit card loans.
Exactly. You want to pay these things off. Rebecca, I'm assuming you also are not a homeowner. You rent your place, right?
I am definitely a proud renter.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a proud renter as well.
I rent here in Taiwan.
Yeah, well, friends, what do you think about that idea of buying a home? I know a lot of people have different opinions about that. I think it's good to seek counsel. Go and talk to somebody older and wiser about whether you should buy a house or perhaps just rent. But we read on here about paying off a loan. By making extra payments each month, you'll see a reduction in your interest and your number of payments. So this can only be a good thing.
Definitely. Only a good thing. Well, let's move on to the last tip. Produce more personal wealth and actively look for ways to give generously to others. And I actually really appreciate this tip about giving generously to others because it's really easy to just want to keep all of your wealth to yourself. Mm-hmm. But the more you're more blessed when you give.
Exactly, and this is why a lot of people appreciate the idea of we say giving 10% at church. That's called tithing. They appreciate that, and it's actually a good reminder that God gave His people in the Bible to help them to remember to live generously and to remember that money is not the most important thing in life. Now, these first 4 words of this sentence might seem hard because there's a lot of details that we could get into. Produce your own personal wealth. Well, what does that entail? What does that involve? How are you supposed to produce personal wealth? I think if you actually looked up what Dave Ramsey has to say about this online, you could find out more information.
Well, let's continue on here. These are a few simple strategies to make your money work for you. Now, we want to take a look at this phrase, to make something work for you. What does this mean? Okay,
so let's take a look at that. Those 3 words, if money works for you, or money works for you. That's 4 words, sorry. Yes, this is your money, or your investments, or stocks, or whatever. Continue to make money for you, even when you're not working, even when you're not conscious of it. Sometimes we would even say that your money works for you while you sleep.
Oh, right. Now, let's say that you have a house, okay, and you're renting the house out to people. Well, guess what? That money, you're basically getting money as you sleep because the renters have to pay you rent every month. And that's actually one thing that my parents do. Mm-hmm. They rent out the house that they own, and they have several renters, and they actually end up making money while they sleep.
And so, of course, that is one benefit to buying a house, is that you can rent it to somebody else. How else could you make your money work for you? Friends, talk about that in English. We read here, money can be a burden, or it can be a source of freedom. And there's a great picture I just wanted to show to give you the idea of money being a burden. Because whether you're not making enough money or you have a lot of debt, or perhaps you're a really rich person, but you have to maintain a lot of things and think about a lot of stuff, money can be a burden.
It can be a burden, or it can be a blessing to you. And our lesson says it's up to you which role it will play in your life. And I hope that you decide, or you choose to allow money to be a blessing in your life. Don't allow it to control you. Don't be indebted to it, but use money in a way to bless other people and to bless yourself as well.
Exactly. It's up to you. That phrase at the beginning of that sentence means it depends on you. 看你吧. What are you going to do with your money? And like Rebecca just said, it's important to bless other people with your time, your money, your words, to be generous, to live generously, because the things that we have are all given to us from God. And as some people say, you can't take it with you when you leave.
That's right. Well, right now it's time for us to review today's lesson with a review skit.
Hey, Uncle Rich, someday I want to have a lot of money, just like you.
Then study hard, young man.
I do. I study math, science, and English, but one class is missing.
Money management. True. When I got my first job, I had no clue how to handle money.
Worse yet, when I graduate, I'll have a financial disadvantage, student loans, and credit card debt.
Don't worry. Uncle Rich can help you out.
Yay! You'll give me money?
No, I'll teach you the key to money management instead.
Okay, so what's the key, Uncle Rich?
Use money responsibly. Just follow these 7 baby steps.
7 baby steps.
Step 1. Save $1,000 US in an emergency fund. Only for an emergency.
Well, that's a lot to save.
Step 2. Use the debt snowball method to pay off your debt. Pay each minimum balance and apply extra money toward the smallest debt.
Whoa. Well, what's step 3?
Invest more money into your emergency fund in case you lose your job.
But I don't even have a job.
Step 4. Invest 15% of your income into a retirement fund.
I'm too young to retire.
Well, step 5. Begin saving for your children's college years. Now is the best time.
I don't even have a family.
Oh. Well, here's step 6. Pay off your home loan early. Make extra payments for a reduction in costs.
I don't have a home loan, Uncle Rich.
I thought you might say that. Well, here's step 7.
Finally.
Show generosity toward others.
Aw, that's a nice idea.
Remember, make your money work for you.
Uncle Rich, thanks for giving me tips. I wish you were giving me money.
Were you talking to me? You'll be fine. All right, friends. Well, remember, money can be a burden or it can be a source of freedom. Do you know how to make your money work for you? Thanks for joining us for this very useful lesson. Friends, make sure to check out our other social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube. And we'll see you next time for a completely different lesson right here on Studio Classroom.